Alright, we are live. Let's get into this. Close. Your mind made free by discipline. Let's go. Twitter, 1 hour. Also, we got the new iPhone. Right over here. And here's the new iPhone. We're just transferring all the data. It's going to take around 20 minutes. So let's see. A tale in 3 acts. Your roadster reservation is complete. Oh my god. He's taking a shot at him. I would like to cancel my reservation. Could you please refund me 50k? Address not found. You can't be worrying about 50k like this. He's taking a shot at Elon. Wow. A tale in 3 acts. Whether we born 400 million, 5 billion, or 50 billion a year, I don't care. Little brother energy is the worst. Wow. A life update. I raised an incredible round for my startup and thought I would skip college for good. Shortly after I realized some chapters in life don't come twice. Returned the money, taking a gap year and going to college next fall. Grateful for my supportive investors. Probably cold emailing Z fellows. My startup and thought I would skip college for good. I realized some chapters in life don't come twice. Returned the money, taking a gap year and going to college next fall. Grateful for my supportive investors. This is a difficult decision. This is a very incredible decision. Dolores Park in San Francisco versus AI researchers' favorite park. Acrobatics, spikeball, volleyball, but also discussing the latest model recipes and trends between rounds. One time they even held a mango eating event. Seasonal interns with their backpacks, except for the water interns who never seem to leave the city. Swing by the nearby bakery, Tartine, and you were bound to hear VC talk about their fresh new take on B2B SaaS. Thank you, Semi-Analysis. My backyard, 3 blocks from here. When I notice I'm feeling anxious about something, I ask myself what's the worst that can happen and how would I cope with that? Or if a friend had a similar worry, how would I advise them to handle it? By putting distance between myself personally and the source of the anxiety, I can think more objectively about positive outcomes. Not beating myself up has been a hard learned lesson for me. I became much happier when I stopped expecting realistic results, levels of perfection for myself and my family, my friends and my coworkers, not to mention customers, vendors and shareholders. The reality is that when you are trying to make a few $1 billion, your team is likely running in multiple directions at a fast pace. Except that some goof-ups are inevitable, and you will find that it's much easier to maintain a mental equilibrium as you pursue big goals. SF Compute has grown 3x. Okay, let's see what is SF Compute. We sell very large H100 training clusters. And fastest you can buy in short bursts 96 H100s for a week. Okay. Large scale inference, batch power, Large scale embedded GPU clusters need 800 H100s on a single InfiniBand fabric for an hour. You got it. 8 H100s dedicated for a year. Sure. Need to cancel, just sell back what you don't need. You are never locked in to a long-term contract. Never pay to move your data. We run the clusters from UEFI on up and support you just like a traditional cloud. This is cool. This is kind of cool. Live, bunch of plants and beautiful. Sign up to buy 1 day, 1 hour. Hundreds of large scale models, PhD Fund, very competitive, low prices, and abundant amount of H100s for projects, and great and responsive customer service. PhD student. We trust SF Compute to be our primary cloud for training and inference workloads. The hardware spec is great and the team is amazing to work with. Fast and reliable technical support. Is it bare metal, containers, VMs? How fast will the nodes go down? Yes, hardware failure rates are much higher on GPU clusters than on web servers. GDM journalists. We have been featured in Bloomberg, New York Times. SF Compute. About. Onboards only a few customers at a time by signing an NDA, sitting down directly with your engineering team, proving out a pilot, aligning with a roadmap to use so we can bring down your cost and keep you out of long-term contracts. We've had a lot of success with this model and today operate thousands of chips that our customers can scale up and down with 1 hour average lead time. Time on large-scale GPU clusters on contracts you can get out of. Normally when you buy a large cluster, you're forced into a long-term agreement that puts your business at risk. We let you sign long-term contracts you can exit by selling back to someone else on a liquid market. Virtualization and bare metal stack. The mission: we are going to secure the financial risk of the largest infrastructure build out in the history of the world. We're going to secure the financial risk of the largest infrastructure build out in the history of the world. When people finance clusters, the data centers that house them and the power that powers them, they need offtake. Offtake just means someone who's signed a contract to buy that thing you are building for some period of time. It's pretty hard to write a loan against a cluster that isn't sold to someone. The lender doesn't want to take on the risk that the cluster developer can't sell it. And the cluster developer really does not take on that risk. So instead they ship it to the customer by forcing folks to buy risky long-term contracts. Since margins are thin and volumes are large, if you mess up that purchase, that's game over. A 25% utilization gap might mean the difference between profit and bankruptcy. If you don't solve that risk, there's a bubble. Application layer companies sign multi-year contracts for compute and inference, but sell to their customers on monthly subscriptions. This isn't SaaS anymore. A minor shift in your growth rate could cause the revenue to fail to come in the door, the compute bill to still come due. At the same time, the venture capital slows down as AI scales. The folks who can more effectively take on that risk increasingly become the largest and largest players. After all, 2% startup in SF Victorian can't realistically sign a 5-year take or pay contract on $100 million supercomputer, but they may be able to buy the month of liquidity that someone else sold back. So that's where you make a liquid market for GPU offtake. I want to message them. Okay, really cool. Really cool. Now we go back. We also looked at the Apple monitor. That was pretty sick. it's really expensive. The Pro HDR display, it's like 7500, but it looks pretty good. I think I was thinking about it. It's similar to Alienware. Alienware has this beautiful lights behind it, but how often do I look at those lights? Yeah, maybe in the night sometimes it just shines, and I don't know when it shines, when it doesn't. But Apple has pretty much the same thing. It has this beautiful kind of grill effect in the back, which I won't look at most of the time, but that is interesting. And they have just the stand of Apple is like $1,000, $1,200, which is kind of crazy. Okay, Microsoft went public with an inflation adjusted cap of 2.3 billion in 86. Today it's 4 trillion. OpenAI to be a 2000x increase. While public, it would have to 200x Earth's GDP of 100 trillion today. IPOing later and later means non-accredited investors can benefit. What's the non-accredited investors can benefit? What's the dynamic here? Generally speaking, there's just more and more private capital available for deployment as venture rounds than there ever was in the past. Companies don't need to face the hassle of SEC scrutiny, filings, and public sentiment swings that hurt company morale and direction. Secondaries markets where existing shareholders can sell the stake to later private investors at a markup in valuation, also getting bigger. So even employees and early investors don't feel the need for a public offering to get liquidity. There is basically unlimited demand for secondary sales of companies like Anthropic, OpenAI, SpaceX, Anduril, etc. Overall, though it changes the capital flow dynamic, IPOs were the primary liquidity event that could recirculate capital from locked up private investments out to LPs and funds that could then back into early stage investments. The real sad part, though, is your average Joe gets wholly crushed by the AI wave. Company valuations are already stratospheric at IPO, and his job is being threatened compared to Nvidia that has likely been 10x as many millionaires inside the company as outside. This is very interesting. This is very interesting. Very interesting. With OpenAI, they're not only taking over your job, they are also removing the upside for you to make money that you would have made if you were that you would have made if you were in that you would have made if you were in if you were invested in that company. Prepares for IPO at a $1 trillion valuation Reuters report. Wholly crushed by the year, company valuations are being stratospheric at IPO and his jobs being threatened. Compare that to. Interesting. Alright, how did the CRS and Snowflake, who before that was? How did the CR of Snowflake, who before that was? President of Broadcom for 2 years. President of Broadcom for 2 years, and VP and SVP at VMware for 10 years before that, only became a millionaire 4 years ago.
And that people were most confused about.
Yeah, how old were you becoming a millionaire? Like 4 years ago?
Okay, pause.
Yeah, so who is this guy again? He's the CRO of Snowflake, which like Snowflake's been like $100 billion company for a while, right? Snowflake market cap. I thought it went out like years ago. I mean, maybe he wasn't liquid. It's a $91 billion market cap company, and it's down too. Like,
okay, so this was the line that people were most confused about because I don't want to like try to guess this guy's age too I won't pretend to know exactly, but I assume he's in his 40s, maybe his 50s.
Yeah.
He was at VMware for 10 years as the vice president of U.S. enterprise sales and the senior vice president, general manager of Americas.
Yeah.
And so, and he was also the president of Broadcom from November of 2023 till now.
This is the problem. You interview these people, and now everything is out at the public to debate.
And became the CRO at Snowflake this year, but still, everyone I think is shocked of like how he didn't possibly pull together $1 million by somewhere.
25 years in enterprise technology. That's what it says. 25 years. Like, what is he spending his money on? He must be just like obsessed with buying depreciating cars.
That could be it.
Maybe he gets a new Bentley Continental GT every year like clockwork. Maybe he's the one that's buying all the Lamborghini.
Maybe he's buying multiple. Maybe he doesn't like to drive the same car twice.
Yeah,
right.
That must
Maybe he gets a fresh car.
That must be it.
I don't like to drive cars with more than 20 miles on the odometer.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to cycle it out.
Yeah.
Every 20 miles.
Yeah, they say once you drive it off the lot, you lose half the value. Well, it's the price I'm willing to pay.
Yeah.
Because I got to keep my net worth under. I got to keep it at 6 figures.
To inspire. Clearly it worked. It clearly inspired him to grind harder. You see her at Snowflake.
It's incredible. No, this must be some sort of he misspoke because that.
Okay, let's play Vanta. Automate complaint.
Can we talk about how insane it is to be C-suite executive at a public company and casually drop that you hit your revenue target for the quarter? Can we talk about how insane it is to be C-suite executive at a public company and casually drop that you hit your revenue target for the quarter, and then a 2027 revenue guide in a TikTok video as some broccoli haired zoomer?
How old were you when you became a millionaire? Oh, this guy. Yes, sir. I've just been getting your Instagram feed. How old were you when you...
On October 26, 2025, the Instagram account named posted an interview on Instagram related platforms with an executive officer of Snowflake, in which the officer made certain statements regarding the company's future results. On the company's corporate disclosure policy, this officer is not a designated spokesperson authorized to disclose financial information on behalf of the company. As a result, investors should not rely upon such statements. The company affirms the revenue guidance for Q3 and full year 26 originally issued on August 27, 2025 as part of the announcement of its financial results for the fiscal quarter ended The company notes that it will release its Q3 26 financial results in accordance to its standard practices. The company's guidance philosophy remains unchanged. Oh no, and he's the CRO. He should have known this. He should have known this to not flex the hitting the revenue guidance on a TikTok. For 2 decades in sales, which got you a C-suite job at a $100 billion company. I really want to like that street interview guy, but there's just something about him I don't like. 20 years to get into this position, only there for 8 months and caused a legal shitstorm, most likely getting fired, and will be hard to ever live this down. His assistant tried to save him too.
Oh boy, 4 years ago? And what line of business? Technology? What do you do today?
Oh no, oh no. Become a millionaire in 4 years ago, how is that possible to fire this guy? What Scarpelli would have done. He would have pulled the gentleman's fingernails out slowly during the next company meeting and made everyone watch. Oh my god. The school of hard knocks. Hey, we don't want to hate on the guy. It's just interesting that he was doing his thing, but it was very interesting that the Snowflake's CRO, he's the CRO, so he knows what's up. He's the CRO, he's the chief revenue officer. He knows what's up. How did he reveal all this information? He should have just said that I cannot do that. But he went out and flexed it. Sees exec shared unauthorized guidance in Instagram street interview. Executive shared unauthorized financial guidance in a street interview on Instagram. The video was posted by Instagram. Previously. It's very, very interesting. Okay. This had 2K likes and this had 5 editors, so very relevant. Okay. Bro had crippling student loan debt. Okay, that's really funny. Alright. Studio Hall Replit hacked his university's database to change his grades and still graduate after getting caught.
I just didn't show up, and so they would fail me. So I spent 2 weeks just going mad and trying to hack my resume. And finally, I found a way to find SQL injections on the site. I found a way to edit the records, change the grades, and went to pull my transcripts, and sure enough, it actually changed. Went to plot the gown, went to the graduation parties, did all that, graduating, and then one day I'm at home, it's like maybe 6 or 7 p.m. I get the telephone at home rings hello, and he's like, hey, this is
By the way, it's so beautiful that Twitter is looking so clean right now.
in-person registration system. Oh shit, it turns out there's a flag in the chat.
Agents are getting better fast. Rapid agent could only do 2 minutes of code and work. V2 could do 20 minutes. V3 200 minutes. More and more reliable, we can make huge progress on coding without ever achieving true AGI. What trajectory of agents of RL unlocked reasoning for modern models where verification loops change everything with LLMs are hitting diminishing returns. Hacking University, origins of Replit, creativity. Oh, they went into the story at the very end. Okay. The vision behind building apps with agents when agents become the program reinforcement learning, verification loop. Coding is advancing faster than other fields. AGI debate. Functional AGI automatic labor. Creativity, reasoning, and finding truth in AI. AGI debate. Alright.
And that's like take this soft wrap in front of Replit, and you're shooting off multiple agents at a time. You're like planning a new feature. So I want to social networking on top of my storefront, and another one is like, hey,
Descript, big company. People love Descript, and they are like, we use Replit internally and are big fans. Really cool.
After the database, and you're running parallel agents, you have 5, 10 agents kind of working in the background, and they're merging the code and taking care of all of that. But you also have a really nice interface on top of that you're doing design, and you're interacting with AI in a more creative way, maybe using visuals and charts and things like that. So there's a multimodal angle of that interaction. So I think, creating software is going to be such an exciting area, and I think that the layperson will be as good as what a senior software engineer that works at Google is today. So I think that's happening very soon. But I don't see them. And I'm curious about your point of view. But my experience between as a sort of on the, let's say, healthcare side, or more writing an essay side, or more creative side, I haven't seen as much of a rapid improvement as what we're seeing in code. So I think code's going to move. Math is probably as well. But some scientific domains, bio, things like that, those are going to move really fast.
Yeah. So there's this weird dynamic, and see if you agree with this, and Eric also be curious about doing this. Like there's this weird dynamic that we have this in the office here a lot, and I have this like leading entrepreneurs a lot, which is this thing of like, wow, this is the most amazing technology ever. It's moving really fast, and yet we're still like really disappointed. And like it's not moving fast enough, and like it's like maybe right on the verge of falling out. And like we should both be like hyper excited, but also on the verge of like sleeping. It's a great things coming to an end. Right. And I always wonder, it's like on the one hand, it's like okay, like not all letters go to the moon. Like just because something looks like it works, or doesn't mean it's going to be able to scale it up and have it work to the full extent. So like it's important to like recognize practical limits and not just extrapolate with infinity. On the other hand, like we're dealing with magic here that I think we probably all would have thought was impossible 5 years ago, or certainly 10 years ago. Like I didn't, you know, I got my CS degree in the late 80s, early 90s. I didn't think I would live to see NBS, right? Like this is just amazing. This is actually happening in my lifetime.
But there's a huge bet on AGI, right? Like whether it's the foundation models, I think now the entire U.S. Economy is sort of a bet on AGI. And there are crucial questions to ask: whether are we on track to AGI or not? Because there are some ways that I can tell you it doesn't seem like we're on track to AGI because there doesn't seem to be transfer of learning across these domains that are significant, right? And so if we get a lot better at code, we're not immediately getting better at like generalized reasoning. We need to go also get training data and create RL environment for bio or chemistry or physics or math or law or so. And this has been the sort of point of discussion now in the AI community after the Dwarkesh and Richard Sutton interview, where Richard Sutton kind of poured this cold water on the bitter lesson. So everyone was using this essay that he wrote called The Bitter Lesson. The idea is that there are infinitely scalable ways of doing AI research. And anytime you can pour more compute and more data and get more performance out, that's the.
Now he's in Carleton University of Alberta. Oh my god, he's been a central force in making Edmonton one of the world's leading AI research labs, largely through the Alberta Machine Learning Institute. AMI co-authored the foundational textbook Reinforcement Learning Introduction, the Bible of RL. Core idea his research centers on how agents learn through trial and error, optimizing actions based on rewards, the same principle that underlies much of modern robotics, gaming AI, and autonomous systems. Has worked in major institutions like DeepMind, where he led the Edmonton office, shaping long-term learning architectures. He's known for the bitter lesson, a famous essay arguing that progress in AI comes not from handcrafted human knowledge, but from methods that leverage computation and scale. It does not come from handcrafted human knowledge, but from methods that leverage computation and scale, allowing systems to learn directly from data and experience. Handcrafted human knowledge. The godfather of reinforcement learning and a key voice in AI agents that learn autonomously over time, a direct influence on the Replit style recent agents mentioned. Wow.
Ultimate way of getting to AGI, and some people interpret that interview that perhaps he's doubtful that we're even on a.
Really cool. Bitter lesson. Richard Sutton. I just drafted a new blog post. The bitter lessons. The bitter lessons. Dwarkesh and I had a frank exchange of views. I hope we move the conversation forward. Dwarkesh, true gentleman. Sweeve, student of mind and nature, libertarian chess player, cancer survivor, keen, U Alberta, AMI, open-minded researcher, Wall Society, Turing Award.
I'm personally just kind of content being out of sync with my field for a long period of time, perhaps decades, because occasionally I have improved right in the past. I don't think learning is really about training. It's about an active process. The child tries things and sees what happens. I think we should be proud that we are giving rise to this great transition in the universe.
Today, I'm chatting with Richard Sutton, who is one of the founding fathers of reinforcement learning and inventor of many of the main techniques used there, like TD learning and policy gradient methods. And for that, he received this year's Turing Award, which, if you don't know, is basically the Nobel Prize for computer science. Richard, congratulations.
Thank you, Dwarkesh.
And thanks for coming on the podcast.
It's my pleasure.
On a better lesson path here, and perhaps the current training regime is actually very much the opposite, in which we are so dependent on human data and human annotation and all of that stuff. So I think that I agree with you. I mean, as a company, we're excited about where things are headed, but there's a question of like, are we on track with AGI or not? Potentially.
So and earlier I think Cisco makes a specific form of this argument, which is basically we're just literally running out of training data.
It's a fossil fuel argument,
right? Like we've slipped all the training data. Fundamentally we've slipped all the data off the internet. That is where almost all the data is at this point. There's a little bit more data that's in private dark pools somewhere that we're gonna go get, but we have it all. And then we're in this business now trying to generate new data, but generating new data is hard and expensive, compared to just slipping things off the internet. So there are these arguments. Having said that, you get into definitional questions here really quick, which are kind of a rabbit hole. But having said that, like you mentioned, transfer learning. So transfer learning is the ability of the machine to be an expert in one domain and then generalize that into another domain. My answer to that is have you met people? And how many people do you know are interested in transfer learning? Not many, right? Well, because there's
quite the opposite actually. The nerdier they are in a certain domain, the kind of often they have blind spots.
We joke about how everyone's just retarded in one area, or they make some massive mistake and don't trust them on this, but another other topic,
Right.
Yeah, well, and this is a well-known thing among, for example, public intellectuals. So this happens. There's actually a whole book written about this on so-called public intellectuals. So you get these people who show up on TV and they're experts. So what happens is they're like an expert in economics, right? And then they show up on TV and they talk about politics, and they don't know anything about politics. right? Or they don't know anything about like medicine, or they don't know anything about the law, or they don't know anything about computers. You know, this is what Paul Krugman talking about. Otherwise, it's going to be no more significant than the fax machine has. The brilliant economist has no idea how computers.
Is he a brilliant economist?
Well, at one point. At one point. Let's get, even if he's really well, this is the thing. Like, what does that mean? Okay. Should a brilliant economist be able to extrapolate, you know, the internet? Is a good question. But the point being, like, even if he is, you know, take anybody. Oh, by the way, or like Einstein's like actually my favorite example. Like, I think you'd agree, Einstein was a brilliant physicist. Yeah. He was a Stalinist. Like he was a socialist. And he was a Stalinist, and he was like, but he thought like Stalin was fantastic.
Well, he always have. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
True socialism.
All right, Einstein. You know, I'll take your word for it. But like once he got into politics, he was just like totally loopy, or you know, or even right or wrong. Just, you know, he just sounded like all of a sudden like an undergraduate lunatic, like somebody in a dorm room. Like there was no transfer learning from physics into politics. Like listen, right or wrong, he didn't. There was nothing new in his political analysis. It was the same rote routine bullshit you get out of, you know.
Yeah. So in a way, the argument you're making is like, we maybe already at human level AI. I mean, perhaps the definition of AGI is something totally different. It's like above human level, that something that truly generalizes across domains. It's not something that we've seen.
Yeah, like we've idealized. Yeah, I was saying, so we've and you know, look, we should shoot big, but we've idealized a goal that maybe idealized in a way that, like, number one, it's like so far beyond what people can do that it's no longer a relevant comparison to people. And usually AGI is defined as, you know, able to do everything better than a person can. And it's like, well, okay, so if doing everything better than a person can, it's like if a person can't do any transfer learning at all, right. You know, doing even a little bit, a marginal bit might actually be better, or it might not matter, just because no human can do it, and so therefore you just end up with nothing. There's also this well-known phenomenon in AI, but, you know, typically this works the other way, which is a phenomenon AI engineers always complain about, and scientists always complain about, which is the definition of AI is always the next thing that the machine can't do. And so like the definition of AI for a long time was like, can it be humans at chess? Mm-hmm. And then the minute it could be humans at chess, that was no longer AI. That was just like, oh, that's just like boring.
That's computer chess.
Computer chess. So it's just like boring, and that's an app on your iPhone, and nobody cares, right? And it's immediately
the Turing test was the next.
The Turing test,
and then we passed it, and nobody.
This is like really big deal.
There was no separation.
There was no parties. That's exactly right. There was no party. For 80 years, the Turing test. I mean, they made a movie about it, like the whole thing. That was the thing, and like we blew right through it, and nobody even registered it. Nobody cares. You guys no credit for it. We're just like, it's still, you know, complete piece of shit. But it's right. And so there's this thing where the AI scientists are used to complaining basically that they're always being judged against the next thing as opposed to all the things they've already solved. But that's maybe the other side.
I think that makes sense. Like humanity quickly adjusts to the. It's just like everything. It's just like how we say about the new apartment. You get a new apartment, you are really excited. It's just like your vacation. You go to Italy, you go to Amalfi Coast. First day, you are like, wow, what is this place? This is incredible. I believe I'm in heaven. Next day, you are like, there's mountains, water. Yeah, they look good, but you start thinking bigger. You start having other issues.
Which is they're also putting out for themselves an unreasonable goal, and then doing this sort of self-flagellation kind of along the way. Yeah. And I kind of wonder, I wonder kind of which way that cuts.
Yeah. It's an interesting question. Like, I started thinking about this idea of like, it doesn't matter whether it's truly AGI, and the way I define AGI is that you put in a AI system in any environment and efficiently learns. Right. You know, it doesn't have to have that much prior knowledge in order to kind of learn something, but also can transfer that knowledge across different domains. But you know, we can get to like functional AGI, and what functional AGI is just collect data on every useful economic activity in the world today, and train an LLM on top of that, or train the same foundation model on top of that, and we'll target every sector of economy, and you can automate a big part of labor that way. So I think we're on that track, right, for sure. Right.
You tweeted after GPT-5 came out that you were feeling diminishing returns. Yeah. What were you expecting, and what needs to be done? Do we need another breakthrough to get back to the basic growth? Or what are your thoughts?
I mean, this whole discussion is sort of about that, and my feeling is that you know, GPT-5 got good at verifiable domains.
Let's see if ChatGPT can register this. This is an incredible interview about AGI. Let's see what it comes up with. Would you like me to pull the summary of the key points? Are you looking for deeper analysis, interpretation of its implications? Yes, pull. Interesting conclusions about AGI. Progress is both astonishing and still not enough. They observe that AI has accomplished what would have seemed impossible just 5 or 10 years ago. It's moving at extraordinary pace. At the same time, there's a disappointing gap. People expect more faster or paradigm shift with many domains, especially abstract reasoning, are still hard. We would be hyper excited, but also on the verge of slitting our wrists. We should be hyper excited, but also on the verge of slitting our wrists, capturing the mix of promise and angst. Application for you. Expect dramatic gains, but also significant gaps. Positioning for next wave is smart. Domains with verifiable answers are advancing fastest. The interview highlights that in areas where problems have clear true false verifiable results, coding, math, physics, genomics, AI is making rapid progress. Nuanced judgment, open and discover human style abstraction remain much harder. Business or product advantage, you can target those verifiable computational domains. Automation, energy modeling, simulation, verification, where the ROI and AI leverage is highest. Functional AGI, true AGI. Automate many tasks, human level across domains, continual learning, abstraction. Functional AGI may become so economically valuable that resources shift toward exploiting that, and true AGI may lag or be deprioritized. They call this the local maximum trap. If you're building a venture investing, you can thrive in the functional AGI world, which is near term. But if you're playing for revolutionary, you need to aim beyond that trap. Verification loops, agents, and reasoning over time breakthroughs. The interview emphasizes that some of the key recent technical advances aren't just bigger models, but architectures that allow reasoning over long horizons. Verification loops, multi-agent coordination. Program to plan, check their work course correct. That matters a lot for independent task completion. Applying these techniques, reasoning, verification, planning, in large domains, energy, infrastructure, supply chain, which is directly aligned with your nuclear enthusiasm. Diminishing returns, scaling, and compute algorithm trade-offs. Even frontier models improved in verifiable domains but did not advance as much in abstract reasoning. Bigger model, more compute. Algorithmic breakthroughs, new paradigm. Bigger models, but new architectures. Cool tool chains that deliver qualitative leaps. In the nuclear intersection, you can place bets there. Economic, labor, and property implications. They touch on how AI-driven automation will shift value from labor to capital owners of property, models, data centers, infrastructures. Capital owners of property. Shrink in value. What you own, data, compute, models may grow in value. Data, compute, models. They also draw analogies to the Industrial Revolution. Many complementary innovations rather than one machine that changes everything. From your vantage, media investment, you can leverage this trend by owning pieces of the infrastructure, compute, data sets, domain-specific models, or being early in domains with capital is more than labor. Also think culturally, media, you can create narratives around this shift. Continual learning and generalized reasoning. The interview challenges typical definitions of AGI. Efficiently learn new skills across many domains, generalize, reason, adapt continually. Jump isn't just do today what humans do, but learn, adapt, shift like humans. Evaluate technologies or invest, use that lens. Does this system merely mimic today's task, or can it adapt to new tasks autonomously, improve, transfer learning? That's a strong signal. Many of today's opportunities lie in the automation of tasks, tooling, augmentation, agents, which are near term and large. But if you're aiming for breakout transformational value, that focus on the enabling infrastructure, domains requiring abstract reasoning, continual learning, and ones that are underinvested. They caution against assuming the singularities around the corner. As you build your business investment, you can carve a unique niche by being both pragmatic and visionary. You will balance short-term ROI and long-term frontier bets.
It didn't feel that much better at anything else. The more human angle of it, it felt like it regressed, and like you had this Reddit pitchfork movement against Sam and OpenAI because they felt like they lost a friend. GPT-4o felt a lot more human and closer, and whereas GPT-5 felt a lot more robotic, very in its head, trying to think through everything, and so I would have just expected like.
Guess what is next on? Whoa. Wait, what is happening? OpenAI's roadmap. non-chain of thought model. 4.5 within weeks. Deeper multimodal capabilities, better reasoning chain of thought, slower thinking, fast thinking, simplified user experience, tiered intelligent access, high intelligence levels, better integration tool support, focus on safety, alignment, compute efficiency, possibly open weights, open research, leaks. Coming in the months ahead, my guess. To serve as a bridge, possibly launch a mini. Okay. Below infrastructure.
When we went from GPT-2 to 3, it was clear it was getting a lot more human. It was a lot closer to our experience. You can feel like it's actually how it gets me. Like, there's something about it that I'm
This is the read write own book. This is the hard thing, but the hard things book.
sensible better. Similarly, 3 to 4, 4 to 5 didn't feel like it was a better overall game.
So, but is the question there, like, is it emotionality? Is it
Probably emotionality, but again, probably, like, I like to ask models, like, very controversial things. Can it reason through, I don't know how people want to go here, but, like, what happened with World Trade Center? Sure, that's a question, right? Like, I'm not putting out a theory, but, like, it's interesting, like, how did it, and can it think through controversial questions in the same way that it can go think through a coding problem? And there hasn't been any movement there. Like all the reasoning and all that stuff. I haven't seen, not just that. That's a cute example, but like COVID, right? Like the origins of COVID, right? Go dig up GPT-4 or other models and go to GPT-5. You're not going to find that much difference. Okay, let's reason together. Let's try to figure out what was the origins of COVID, because it's still an unanswered question, And I don't see them making progress on that. I mean, you play a lot with them.
I use it differently. I don't know. Maybe I have different expectations. My main use case actually is sort of PhD and everything in my back call. And so I'm trying to get it to explain things to me more than I'm trying to have conversations with it. Maybe I'm just unusual with that.
Right, that gets
well, so what I found specifically is a combination of like GPT-5 Pro plus deep reasoning or like Grok 4 Heavy, like the highest end models like that. They basically generate 30 to 40 page, essentially books on demand on any topic. And so anytime I get curious about something, I just take a thing with my group and something like that. Here's a good example. When advanced economy puts a tariff on a raw material or a finished good, like who pays? Is it the consumer? Is it the importer? Is it the exporter? Or is it the producer? And it's actually very complicated. Turns out very complicated question. It's a big thing that economists study a lot. And it's just like, okay, who pays? And what I found like for that kind of thing is it's outstanding.
Well, but it's outstanding at sort of going out of the web, getting information, synthesizing it.
Correct. It gives me a synthesized 20, 30, 40 pages. It basically comes out 40 pages. PDF.
Yeah.
But I can get the 40 pages PDF, but it's completely coherent, and as far as I can tell for everything I've cross-checked, I completely like it. Like world class. Like if I hired, for a question like that, if I hired like a great, econ PhD postdoc at Stanford who just like went on to that work, like they would maybe be that good.
Yeah.
But then of course the significance is it's like at least for this is true for many domains, PhD and everything. So
but it's synthesizing knowledge, not trying to create new knowledge.
well, but this gets to the sort of of course you get into the angels dancing on the head of a pin thing, which is what what's the difference? How much new knowledge ever actually is there anyway? What do you actually expect from people when you ask the questions? And so what I'm looking for is like yes, explain this to me in like the clearest, most sophisticated, most complex, most like complete way that it's possible for somebody if they're a real expert to be able to explain things to me. That's what I use it for. And again, as far as I can talk from cross-checking, like I'm getting like almost like basically 100 out of 100. Like I don't even think I've had an issue of months. Where it's like whatever.
But core business is just going to keep ripping. You have endless shots on goal when you have a cash machine like the family of apps. I'm also negative about Meta on the timeline after earnings yesterday, but John sponsored on the company.
Right? Something like that. It's close. Yeah, the core business rocks. We know this. 51.2 billion in revenue this quarter. They're up 26% year over year. And there's just so many dials that the Med team can get slightly more dialed every quarter. You can get more users, more time on the platform from those users, more ads, more targeted ads. There's all these small tweaks that add up and wind up compounding. So my bigger question today is what happens to the advertising cash machine once you're 2 decades in? So Google went through this transition on October.
The average Waymo is busier than 99% Uber drivers in terms of completed trips per day. The average Waymo is busier than 99% of Uber drivers in terms of completed trips per day. Everyone's asking if you are in the AI bubble. Gavin S. Baker gave a reason take at one time on why this isn't like the 2000s. At the peak of the internet bubble, 97% of the fiber had been laid in America was dark.
Most important, however,
There are no dark
is
GPUs.
that the year 2000 internet telecom bubble was defined by something called dark fiber. And if you're a veteran of year 2000, you'll know what that was. But dark fiber was literally fiber that was laid down on the ground and not lit up. Fiber is useless unless you have the optics and switches and routers that you need on either side. So I vividly remember companies like Level 3 or Global Crossing or WorldCom would come in and they say, we laid 200,000 miles of dark fiber this quarter. This is so amazing. The internet's getting so big. We can't wait to lay these up. At the peak of the bubble, 97% of the fiber that had been laid in America was dark. Contrast that with today. There are no dark GPUs. All you have to do is read any technical paper, and one of the biggest problems in a trading run is that GPUs are melted. And there's a very simple way to kind of cut to the heart of all of this, and is return on invested capital of the biggest spenders on GPUs. We're all public. And those companies, since they ramped up CapEx, have seen, call it a 10-point increase in their ROICs. So thus far, the ROI on all the spending has been really positive. It's an interesting and open debate about whether or not it will continue to be positive with the quantum of spend we're going to have on Blackwell. I personally think it will. But there's no debate that thus far the ROI on AI has been really positive and valuation-wise.
I got one short about screen time, and I worked out that the average person is going to spend 15 years of their life staring at their phone. Most problems really don't matter.
I don't really care. If you say bad stuff about me, then okay, maybe there's some truth in it. Maybe some good thing I can learn from that. Maybe they're just off. They don't know me. They're just kind of they're imposing their distortions on me. But does that really change who I am? It really doesn't. If somebody's saying something bad about me, or does that really matter? It doesn't matter really at the core. And again, it goes back to context. In the larger context of things, most problems really don't matter. They just don't matter. Maybe at the time they seem like one, and maybe we're kicking in, magnifying those problems and making them into big catastrophes and dramas. But most problems really aren't a bad thing.
I would say opportunity is a strange beast, and you see it frequently appears after a loss.
There's always a play. No matter what gets thrown in your face, at the moment it may seem ugly and bad. There's a play. There's a way to utilize that. There's a way to use that. There's a way to embrace that and turn that into success. Anything can be turned into positivity and success, even if it starts at that place.
Quietly rebuilding Cosmos from the ground up. Video is near. That's the whole new world. What is Cosmos? The universe of inspiration. It looks like Pinterest. Is this Pinterest? Is this Pinterest? Featured, selected by Cosmos. Picture grapher. Oh yeah, this is the one I selected. Very sick images. So what is this? Make art, not content. You can use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. Thoughts becomes things. Really cool. Really cool. Fine tune your feed. Right click. Not interested. The useless outage causing some temporary disruptions to Cosmos. Build a space to dream. We are creating the most inspiring place on the internet. Millions discover, collect, and share the most beautiful things on the internet. It's where the world's best taste comes to light. We believe inspiration is a human privilege worth protecting. By making it accessible and putting it in context, we give it the depth and endurance to shape what people see, what they create, and who they become. We're a small intentional team in Soho that obsess over craft and cares deeply about one another. Our pace is focused, our standards are high, attention to detail runs through everything we build. Our team brings experience from Apple, Meta, Shopify, Coinbase, Squarespace, and Tesla. Our investors back companies like Spotify, Canva, and Notion. Come build with us. Really cool email design made for Cosmos. Sequence. Andy McCune, CEO Cosmos, owner Kuka. Meditative Oasis in Bridgehampton, New York. Whoa, property info. Saltwater pool, wood fireplace, outdoor fire pit available for summer 2025. Summer 2025 is over. Okay, Bridgehampton, New York. Okay. Past co-founder Unfold acquired by Squarespace. Founder Earth acquired by Seed. Co-founder Gallery Was. Select investment, citizenship. No, othership. Madre, Mezcal, Infinite Machine, Superpower, Cometier. Cometier is coffee. The perfect cup every time. Yes. Yes, awards best app of 2019, best app of 2018. Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm curious to see his LinkedIn. You would at Squarespace. Co-founder Cosmos Space for inspiration. 4 years. Unfold. The toolkit for creators acquired by Squarespace. Founder. Co-founder. Co-founder. The Blue Market. Founder Earth Media. A Culture of Wanderlust. Acquired by Seed. Seed Health. Madre Mescal. Okay, we'll do a quick check. It's interesting, I knew so many people. Alright, I knew so many people from my time in Toronto, and now we're just wondering, like, where are they? Also, let's see, how can I add a picture in the background? How can I add an image in the background? So if I go over here and add an image, okay, and if I go over here and I go, okay, that's why we do it right away. Okay, cancel image, lock. Let's see, this is one of my favorite images, Fall of Phaeton. Oh, actually I already have that image. Okay, let's see if we can find this. So browse F, yes, it's right here. So you open this photo, upload image we're not showing. Okay, and now what if I take this image, I move this over here and I put it like this. And it's pretty sick. Okay, and we lock this. We take this guy, I change just a bit. Looks beautiful, huh? Alright, if we now go over here, what do we see? I like it. Not bad. Not bad. Okay, this is how you keep making things better and better. Okay, now I want to ask ChatGPT something that okay, we just want to round the corners over here because it looks very okay, this requires more work, but I think this is good. We just added more fancy stuff in the background, which makes it looks pretty cool. Okay, something interesting happened over here with Nvidia. We just acquired BB. Something happened, we don't know. Meet and have a shot. You know, the future is being negotiated. So Nvidia, Samsung, and Hyundai. We acquired BB.ai. Okay. Soon to be known as Figma Weave. We'll get more models, more tools, more ways to create within the canvas. Okay. Really sick. Really sick. This is exactly what we need. Good job, Fake. Alright. MIT's State of AI Business Report went viral. State of Business AI report went viral for claiming 95% enterprise adoption and why the failure rate is high. Even Apple can be bad at software. While getting enterprise software to actually work is so hard. The Reducto case study. The type of enterprise employee you should find as a founder. Meet founders who have been acquired by enterprises.
Welcome back to another episode of The Light Show. One of the things that has been really pissing me off is these AI influencers. You see them on X, you see them on YouTube, and they're claiming that 95% of AI projects are failures. And that's proof that AI is a scam. What's the real story, Jared? You actually dug into the MIT report that these people are drifting with. What does the report actually say?
Well, reading went viral, there's some tweets about this study, and I think the tweets are actually quite misleading. Diane and I were talking to a bunch of college students recently, and they had concluded, just by reading like the tweet version of the study, that like, oh, all these AI startups that YC is talking about like must not be working because the study says they won't fail. But actually, the more I read the study, the more I realized it's actually confirming a lot of the things we talk about here on this podcast about what AI agents are really like in the real world and what approaches and categories are working. And so I thought it'd be interesting for us to talk about what the study really says.
This is a very different approach to the go-to-market for all these AI solutions. It's not just standard pay-per-price sales. And one of the big things that we talk a lot about is this aspect of teams, startup and founders embedding themselves into the business processes and really grokking a lot of the internal systems of record and going deep into the integration, which is not something that is typically done in the SaaS world. SaaS is like very plug and play, which is different. But when you do succeed and plug into the systems of record, the pot of gold is actually quite big. But it does take a long time. I do have a lot of examples of what companies that have succeeded, which we can talk about later.
You had a really great way of like having a mental model of like what typically happens when an enterprise tries to adopt AI and like why the failure rate is so high. Can you give me some intuition?
Yeah, if you think about enterprises are trying to get something done, and they've got internal IT, or sometimes when internal IT doesn't do it, they go out and they get Ernst & Young, or they get some much bigger consulting shop at Deloitte to come in. And it turns out, if anyone has ever used internal IT systems, generally internal IT systems are bad. And then not only that, if you decide that you can't build it in-house and you have to go to consulting, well, now you've got two problems. The output of the study is no surprise to me, in that the majority of software that actually gets built in the world is very, very bad. To be fair to IT consultants, Apple is very bad at software. My favorite example is Apple, the company that can have infinite access to capital and infinite access to the smartest people in the world. All of us use iPhones, and I use the calendar app. I think you guys do too. We use it many times per day to do our schedules. And even the calendar app is a piece of trash. You probably run into some sort of weird bug in that like almost every single day. So Apple, a company with infinite resources and infinite access to the smartest people in the world, cannot make a good calendar app. So if that's true for Apple, how could any normal company, let alone an internal IT system, let alone like Deloitte or Ernst & Young, like very well-meaning people, but like most of the time the output of something like that is bad.
I think a lot of what goes on is that in the big enterprises, to really deploy sophisticated software, it usually has to be used by multiple teams across the org. And so big enterprises, there's just always going to be like political battles and turf wars and various things going on. And so part of the reason I think these enterprises go to consultants is that you can go to Ernst & Young and get them to like meet with like the data science team, the customer support team, the like IT team, and like write out a bunch of docs about what everyone wants and sort of almost play like some sort of mediator role of, hey, like here's kind of what we're aligned on and here's like the spec that will work for everyone. The challenge is that then you actually, which I think is valuable, but then the next step is to actually like implement that. And we find consultants don't.
Okay, this is my, so got the new phone and looking beautiful so far. And I think first quick thing I noticed that, okay, this is the first time I'm getting a silver phone. Silver pretty much looks white. That is cool. I think first thing I'm noticing is that the images were actually captured nice. But I think the way this shows me the image with bright colors, I think that is beautiful. So the screen is better. It feels like the screen is way better. Okay, amazing. Okay, I actually don't like the don't really like the gloss effect. It's not that good. Okay, we're studying the new language because French is cool. French is cool to understand everything. But right now we are setting up our phone, so we don't want to mess things up. Okay. Okay. Continue. And what did it say? Do not. Do not just delete everything on my phone. Keep holding terminal configuração CD. Terminal configuração CD. Configure don't regular charge. No. Okay, seems like a lot of things have been done. Detecte que le mot de passe de votre compte cheese.com. Activer votre iPhone. Okay. 1 after sunrise. When any two apps are opened. Is my phone getting hot? That's weird. Downloading support for visual intelligence. Once downloaded, this phone will be able to use visual intelligence. Go to settings, Apple Intelligence and Siri. We have a lot of interesting stuff happening already. Apple Intelligence is downloading. This is the button for camera now. And this is the button for camera. There is 8x. We don't know if you're gonna be using 8x, but that is cool. This is the format and flash live aspect timer. Okay, Notion is on. We have our Google working. Google Calendar would like full access to your calendar. Keypad only. Google Calendar would like full access to your calendar. This app uses full calendar access to display your events and in the next year. Calendar events may include additional. Keypad only. What does that mean? I don't want to mess up my calendar because they do mess up a lot. So this is here. This is here. Okay, this another app that we had is also working. Notion is also working. Farcaster. Do we need to log into Farcaster? We don't know. Or it might just work. Use passkey. And is it working? It worked. Parfait. And let's open ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is working. ChatGPT is working. ChatGPT has totally adopted ChatGPT has totally adopted Notes on Apple Watch, adapter toolbar, markdown export. Okay. Let's see. Today is October 30. Okay, it's kind of ugly. Got the new phone. And oh, undo button. Okay. Got the new phone. Okay. And this is gone. What are my first reactions? First reactions is this entire thing is extremely ugly. This thing is extremely ugly. Also weird first reaction. I wouldn't expect to purchase something and be like, that is ugly, but this is ugly. Okay, I think we'll stop using Perplexity because Perplexity hasn't served us really well. Device restored. If you upgrade your device, you may want to review your settings. Settings related to you and your post. Mentioned replies, photo tags, direct messages. What does that mean? Get post notifications. Contact joins X, definitely not. In-app notifications, recommendations from your network, recommendations from my network, yes, give me that. Topics, broadcast spaces, news and sports, no. Recommendations from your network, maybe we'll keep that. Or we'll keep these two on for now from X, okay. From X, recommendations, crisis, emergency alerts. Yes, okay, done. And what do we think of the new? It looks a little bit weird. Why does it look a little bit weird? Why does it look weird? Is it the spacing? The solar founder can predict the future. Is it the spacing? I don't know. Just a little bit weird. Okay. All good. Equinox. Our Equinox app, does that work? Yes, that works. It's pretty cool. Like everything is signed in. More for your iPhone. Vous pouvez utiliser l'Apple Intelligence, faites expérience de règles. Configuration cellulaire, vous pouvez transférer votre numéro, installer un forfait cellulaire. Okay. Options, transfer from nearby phone. We need to transfer our phone number 245928. This is really ugly. The new thing is really ugly. Sad to see that. Okay. Transfer your phone number. Transfer, it will start working on the other phone. Perfect. Confirm transfer may. Unable to transfer phone number. Your phone number could not be transferred to this because your account is ineligible for transfer. Contact Rogers for assistance. Whoa. Okay, Apple Intelligence. I think it's still going on. Configuration cellular. Then go. Use QR code. Scan QR code. Provided by courier in the frame. You can also enter activation code manually if you don't have the QR code. Quelle la prochaine étape pour cet iPhone? Ajouter une couverture cellulaire principale. Ok, activer ce numéro. Principal. Okay, we need to figure that out. What else do we have over here? But add ChatGPT over here. Cancel. Customize. This screen. Couldn't update offline apps. We got temperature for ChatGPT. We'll add the voice. Perfect. Done. So now when we click here, it automatically opens ChatGPT. That is beautiful. Wow, this is so ugly. So ugly. Settings. So phone number is something that is not updated yet. Gmail. Use passkey, so this is good. We got this set up. Okay, so this is good now. We got those both working. Two-factor authentications. Okay. Auth and let's see. Oh, 7. Okay, this worked. This is working pretty well. All our apps are signed in. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. No email received. Okay, we'll look into that later on. It's very weird, like the the apps that you don't really need, they are signed up. Like Netflix is just signed up automatically. Very weird. But the apps that you really need, they have weird problems. Okay, this is working. LinkedIn is working. WhatsApp. You have been logged out. Moving to a new phone. Delete. Moving to a new phone. Welcome to WhatsApp. Canada, 6%. Whoa, something interesting happened. Something interesting just happened with WhatsApp. I think WhatsApp was on in many different phones, and that was the problem. Add email to protect your account. Add email. One 155 142 verify. And this is here. Okay, and now we will get this working. So this is not working. Keep both open on both devices. We're just doing a setup right over here right now because we want to get started with this. '17 Pro Max. All right, we got this. So WhatsApp is not working. WhatsApp, Telegram is working. The apps that are like not really your thing, they always work. Oh, now I need to figure out how to use my... Okay. Productivity. Duo, we don't really need Duo now. I don't know. Gmail, Grok is LinkedIn. Yes, Grok is in. Okay, Notion was in. Tunnelbear, Stripe, WeWork, we stopped going to WeWork, so that is okay. Creativity, Sora, I'm pretty sure that's in. Audible is important. Oh no, I was listening to some good nice accounts, or good nice how do we say it, stuff. Audible is in. Let's go. Speechify. I think I stopped using Speechify. Weather, Reverso, we need Reverso. Reverso is working. Utilities, Arc browser. Let's go. Arc browser is working really well. Arc browser is working really well. It's actually working too well. The reason I use Arc browser is because I want to slow down things, but the problem is Arc is too fast right now. Okay, Google Chrome, I think I stopped using Google Chrome. Google is working pretty well. Public Mobile, okay, Public Mobile, for some reason it got uninstalled. So we'll install Public Mobile. Send notifications. Allow. Session expired. Okay. Login. And let's see. Okay, that's it.